Welcome to Prismacast episode 5. We're the podcast that talks about art through contemporary and historical means. Hey, don't feel bad if you haven't sold much of your artwork. Vincent van Gogh only ever sold one painting on record, so there's still hope yet. Enjoy the show! Okay. Well, welcome, guys. How you doing?
We have a new guest today.
We do. Would you like to introduce our guest?
I feel like we should both mutually introduce him, but also we can't do that. So
What?
I would like to introduce him.
Okay.
Since we both live in the same state, and I'm going to claim statehood on this one.
Yeah, do that. That's great logic.
It is. It's pretty good. So this week we have with us our mutual illustrator friend. His name is Andrew Watkins. Andrew, say hi.
Hi.
Great.
He's pretty great. We all went to BSU together and got our illustrations at the same time and graduated pretty much on the same day.
Pretty much on the same day, in the sense that there is selfies of all three of us sitting next to each other.
That's true.
Yes.
So
That is true.
Accurate.
we all lived through the nightmare that is I just realized, like, is it of our
The
professor
illustration program.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of one human.
I don't think your podcast is that long for us to get into.
No,
It's not,
no.
unfortunately.
I'm pretty sure there's not enough money in the world for therapy sessions that I'll need for the illustration program. So
My therapy is a bottle and a corner in my bathroom.
ooh,
That's,
wow.
that's all.
Just gonna imagine that you're drinking just mouthwash
Yes, that's it.
and not
I like
bleach.
minty. I like minty fresh breath.
Yep.
Well, and Andrew,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about yourself as in backstory. So we know we all went to college together. We know we all graduated together.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you like art?
Why do I like art? It was the only thing I was ever really good at. Yeah. I remember, I don't know, like this is a long time ago because I'm, old. But
You can't keep pulling the old card. I just want to.
Yeah.
Okay, tell everybody how old you are, because I feel like this is going to come
I'm
up
40. I'm 42.
to our... Chris, how old are you?
She's a young.
I'm 28.
Yeah.
And I'm 26. I feel like that's,
Almost twice your
not
age.
that
What?
little.
You are sounding like an asshole right now, Michael.
A little bit. Andrew is a
That's
fun,
fine. Yeah. Hey.
older gentleman.
Jesus
and
Christ.
Excuse me for just a minute. One of my dentures just fell out. I gotta go grab that real quick.
I was like, I don't feel like I can call you an older gentleman either. I feel like that's a lie too. We'll post a picture of you in the show notes.
Make
so that
sure it's a sexy one.
Make sure to get a close up of the liver spot. Just
oh my.
for the record, 42 is not old.
Oh, I know.
Not old
yes,
at all.
You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. I feel
Thank
like
you.
I'm in my teens. Yes. I've been far more industrious when it comes to physical activity of the last year. I did 2 half marathons this year, and I was planning to do a full marathon, but my appendix decided to blow up and kind of laid me up for a couple days. Yeah. Super fun times. That's not even an
I
old
see
thing.
you do.
Do you still
But
have
no,
it? Wait.
no, that's like a child's problem.
Yeah, do you still have the appendix, or did it get taken out? Like, are we?
Oh
at
no,
the
it was blown into a couple of pieces, and so they had to remove it.
Oh shit.
Yeah. It was interesting. It was.
I'm glad you're
fun.
still alive.
Yeah, me too.
That's kind of.
It was a surprise. It was a shocking surprise. But I'm still here. Everything's kosher now. I'm back to running. So yeah.
Yeah, I see you do like fitness challenges with your wife on Instagram. So that's pretty adorable.
And your puppy dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're adorbs. And that's the first and last time you'll ever hear me say the word adorbs. Okay.
2 for 2.
But it's recorded now, so if Casey ever wants to hear it, she can come back and
I'm
she
sure
can
she'll
listen,
give me that
and then she
flat
can be like, "Oh my
look
god."
of disappointment.
I think we should just make this like a clip and just make it a ringtone. Adorbs, adorbs.
Adorbs.
And live that down.
That'd be good. But anyway, tell us about your love for art.
Okay. Getting back to that. I was always drawn just from a pretty early age, maybe, I don't know, 8 or 9 years old. I distinctly remember the first thing I ever drew. I was looking at a dartboard, one of those. I don't know if they still make them, but it was this dartboard made of fabric, and then you had these balls that had Velcro all over them, and you just threw that at the board instead of actual darts because parents were scared for their children. And it was this Smurf dartboard, and I remember one evening I just started drawing this Smurf off of this dartboard, and it actually turned out fairly well, which surprised me. And I've just been drawing ever since. I initially actually went to college for art back in 1996, and
I remember you telling me that, like vaguely, this story a little bit.
Back then I didn't know like where I was going. I didn't know. I had grown up in little towns all over like Montana, Wyoming, Texas, and the places like that, and Wisconsin, and so I always had that small town experience and never really kind of got out and did any exploring on my own. So I went to Northwest Nazarene College over here in Nampa, Idaho, for a year, and did some art exploration. But I was dealing with a lot of things, kind of coming of age, getting into college, finding myself in a Christian college with a different environment, and kind of not imploded, but I kind of kept myself from imploding and joined the military back in 1997. I just wanted to expand my life a little bit, like get out there and see a couple things, experience a couple things. And in the end, I think it actually kind of helped when it comes to artwork because it kind of focused me in and kind of helped me to decipher what I was trying to do.
And kind of to develop that discipline.
Yeah. It's kind of formed a duality, kind of a yin and yang kind of thing where it's a little difficult to transfer from the military state of mind to an artistic state of mind because the artistic, the military side is so structured and rigid, and then you come over to the art side where you have to be a bit more flexible.
So did you have to like turn that on, those sides of your brain on and off as you, because I'm assuming you drew a little bit at least while you were.
Of course.
Oh, so was it hard to like master kind of like, okay, well, I'm going to draw now and then turn that off and okay, I'm going to work now?
It's funny you mentioned that. I dealt with that for a lot of years about trying to figure out how to shut one side off and, work with the other side as it were. But I found that it wasn't really a matter of that because you can't really shut off a side of your brain like that. What I found, I discovered I needed to just incorporate both sides together because they were working together anyway. In trying to shut one off and say, hey, you can't be here right now. I'm working on this stuff. It was just I was inadvertently stifling off a portion of my creativity. Or conversely, I was stifling a portion of a military mindset that I needed in order to do my job well. Yeah, it's proved useful in the past. I work well with timelines and multitasking, and those things that artists just love.
Where most of us are just internally plotting at the thought of hitting deadlines. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like
I do this crazy exercise when it comes to my artwork. I call it finishing early.
No, that's not a thing. Don't be ridiculous.
That's a terrible joke.
Yeah.
Stop.
I am fully into my dad joke phase of my life, by the way. So just forewarning.
No, I just meant the crowd. I was just like, oh, how rude. How rude.
the pain. There's like a lot of artists who's like, finish early? Because I think for
I don't. Sorry.
I think for a lot of artists, it's not even so much like I gotta finish early. It's just if you give yourself too much time, you overwork stuff. So it's either you're procrastinating or you're slowly overworking a piece into a pile of mud. And
or you're like me and you think that something is never done anyway. So you're going to give it as much gas as you can while you have the opportunity, and then it's never going to be done anyway. So call it a day.
Yeah, there's also that mindset. I would say that, like, as I've gotten older, or as I've gotten into doing stuff more professionally, I've had a better idea of what the end point looks like before I get to the end. And that's made it a lot easier for me to hit deadlines, because it's like, okay, we're at this checkpoint and this checkpoint, and oh my God, I'm sorry if you can hear that. There's a cat trying to break out of a bedroom. So
no, I can't hear that. I actually kind of want to hear that now.
It sounds like scratching and a slight like meow.
I like how you lock up the felines
because they're
here.
Dickheads, and if I don't lock them up, they're gonna knock things over. Like, I think the first episode, you can hear Oliver just knocking shit off the counter. I'm like, great. I thought it was good enough to silence everything else, but I have to silence this fucker. Great. Yeah. So going back to, you're talking about like your discipline, and you said that you went to NNU.
Yeah.
Which, that's a Christian college. Were you raised religious?
I grew up in the church. My father is a retired now, but he was a Nazarene pastor my entire life. My mother worked off and on as a teacher in the Nazarene or other Christian private schools that we had in our area, which usually meant that I was going to a Nazarene and or Christian private school wherever we moved to. So, it kind of, I'm not going to say limited. It gave me a very singular experience of my childhood and, teenage years.
What did she teach? Did she teach like a grade or a subject?
Well, most of the time it was elementary that she taught. Gotcha. So it was general school. And most of those schools were small, kind of, I don't know, seed schools. And so you've got just a class that stays with one teacher the entire day. Like they don't go around they don't have like a homeroom and go to different teachers. They just have one teacher the entire day. Yeah.
And do you think that impacts your art at all, or do you feel like your artwork is pretty much devoid of that background?
Oh, well, I think we're all creations of our background, and I know that the struggles that I encountered over the years when I was religious and wanted to be a good person, or not necessarily a good person, but a religious person, a well-rounded Christian. I think in that mindset, there were some things that were, taboo, not really done. Some art pieces that, you kind of looked through a lens of, is this not just good art, but is this moral art? Is this representing something that I don't want to look at, or something like that? Things that I don't do anymore, but they still had like long-lasting repercussions in how I viewed what other people had done and also what I do.
That's kind of like a micro version of the Renaissance then, because that was all very much like, this has to be of a place of holiness, and we have to make sure this is representing a certain thing. So filtering that Did you realize that?
Break out the fig leaves.
Yeah, break out the fig leaves. Oh, God. Side note, someone who studied art at BYU told me that, like, Renaissance sculpture, like nude sculptures, they had, like, Photoshop little fig leaves on top of the paintings, which I was like, oh, I don't know.
I have heard that as well, but Rexburg art classes up in Idaho.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I
could totally see that.
that would take me so far out of it. Like, I would be more, like, sexually aware of a fig leaf than I would be just, like, let's be honest, the shrunken nubbins of of male genitalia of the Romans.
Let's just call it a Tootsie Roll, shall we?
Yeah, it's a Tootsie Roll, and then, like, the female boobs are really just enlarged pecs. So, like, it never felt overtly sexual to me. But, yeah, so when I heard that...
Unintendingly kind of make it everything more sexual. I say growing up in the church, we kind of had the same everything with censorship. So, I would agree with that. It is a different vocal, or not vocal, but a different visual lens that has to be applied to, like, almost everything you see later in life. And even if you're no longer with the church, you still kind of have that lens in the back of your mind that, like, shifts down, and then you have to, like, push it back up.
Yeah,
that's something I haven't really dealt with, like, as a person who's raised as a heathen. Like, my family wasn't religious. Everything was very scientific. My mom never said, like, don't have sex because it's bad. It's just like, look, you're gonna do it, just wear a condom, Jesus. Like,
did she actually say that? Wear a condom, Jesus?
Yeah, she pointed at the one painting of Jesus we had and said he should have wrapped it. And then lead to a whole bunch of questions there. But yeah, it was pretty much like my sex talk was a fucked up thing about drinking, which I won't get into. And then the other one was just like, just at least wear a condom. And that was it. I'm like, okay, nothing else I need to know. Wear condoms.
Good times. I think that actually kind of, that this is a horrible segue. When I
love it when anybody starts sentences like that. This is gonna get awful, but let me continue with my statement.
This isn't really awful. It just kind of goes along with what you were saying. Like my parents, my father being a pastor, they didn't really, like, I don't recall them actually saying too much to me about don't do this or don't do that, or like they never told me that I couldn't hang out with people. They just had this kind of overall sense of, no matter what you do, whether it's art or skating or, listening to, different bands or something like that, just as long as you're a Christian, everything else is, just gravy. So I never got that. Thou shalt not, stay out past 10 o'clock.
Is that a religious thing?
No, it's not.
I just thought that was the law.
Thou shalt not commit truancy. Yeah.
Oh, geez. So, leaving your elementary school days, and it sounds like you had pretty equal parents that were just like, just as long as you're a good person, that's all we want. And then you carried that into the service. Did you feel like the service, I know for our senior show, your work primarily was based upon being in the service, but how much work did you do in the service that you still kind of share a hallmark for, this is what my artwork is about, or did that start later in college?
I have a kind of a stigma. I did that stuff during the senior show, and that was kind of the first time that I really did military stuff.
Awakening.
The first time? How long were you in the military for?
Oh, I'm still in, actually. I'm in the reserves now.
But you're in reserves now, but active?
Yeah. Active duty, I probably did about off and on about 6 or 7 years, something like that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's really interesting because I wanted to stay kind of away from doing the military stuff, mainly because I didn't want to pigeonhole myself.
I like that.
I had seen, because I've seen a lot of military guys that do artwork. They kind of end up doing kind of the same, 10 or 11 scenes from the military. And it all kind of blends together, and not to say that there aren't any former military or current military guys out there that do some amazing art, because there are.
True.
I didn't know if I would be capable of making something that was honest, but still kind of emotionally attached to the military, but without, I don't know, just paying like homage to it all the time. I like some stuff in the military absolutely is horrible, and some stuff is absolutely amazing. But I didn't want to end up being the guy that ignored all the bad in order to kind of relive the heydays and relive the good old days and stuff like that. And so when I did those pieces for school, that's kind of why I concentrated on all the really
the weird moments,
crappy, horrible points. Being on the shit burning detail in Kuwait, or getting anthrax shots and thrown up on a PT test. I liked bringing that forward because it was. You always see in the military how they glamorize, special forces and airborne and all these different schools and all these different things you can do. And it's like, come be one of us. And I was like, what about all the other stuff? There's so much other stuff.
Yeah, like
the whole world.
Yeah, what your stuff did, and like when you talked about the military, like just throughout the exhibition or the semester as you were putting the pieces together, it was definitely to me more of a focus on the mundane and not so much like the horrors like of war, and not like the glory of war, which you see either, like to me when I think of stereotypical like war art, it's like it's American Eagle with a flag with a gun and then jets flying over across the sky to protect our country. And it's like, but most of the time it's just standing in lines and yeah.
But yeah, with that one I wanted to focus on that, and I never really thought that I could pursue that, and like I said before, I never thought I could keep away from kind of pigeonholing myself into this hole of not being able to produce something creative and original without going back to the old stuff that everybody seems to do from the military. So yeah.
And what would you say right now where your main focus is for your work?
Finding time to do anything.
Yeah.
I'm a time hunter. That's what I call myself. I'm a time hunter. It sounds
sounds badass.
Sounds so much more badass than
like you're secretly like Laura Croft in the background, only you got a paintbrush or a charcoal stick for you in one hand and then an ink pen in the other, and you're like, but why? It could be a cool cartoon. You guys both visualized it. I feel like you could make money off of this, Andrew.
Yeah.
I feel like you could make money.
No, I find myself now I'm actually doing a lot more graphic design than I thought I would be doing, which it actually kind of works out that way, because you asked me before like what I found myself doing in the military, and it was mostly graphic design type projects.
Funny how that happens. It's funny.
Yeah.
The guys in the service, they find out that somebody draws, and then you've got like 16 guys that are like, draw me a tattoo, or hey, draw my girlfriend, or hey, draw my girlfriend with angel wings, or draw my girlfriend with no clothes on. And I'm like, right, whoa.
Ooh. How many were just variations of girlfriend portraits?
There was a couple of girlfriend porns that I did.
Whoa.
And it was the weirdest thing because I'm looking at these guys and just like, you're really giving me a picture of your girlfriend naked right now. I hope you know that. We're both
that could be an exhibition.
We're both in Iraq right now, dude. I can't believe you're doing this.
At least it was like someone associated. I will say I had a LARPer approach me to draw something for him. And as we went along, he's like, I like the face you drew. But
oh my God.
Let me send you a picture of Taylor Swift.
I remember
and I want you to
this.
draw it more like her. Oh, it was bad. And then I gave him the next draft and he was like, I want to see bigger boobs. And a little bit more. Can we do less clothing? And I was like, okay, we're at another level of this that I'm just not prepared for.
Did he stop to wipe his mouth a few times?
That's very bad. So at least they're girlfriends and they're in a relationship. I feel that's all.
Then it's a boudoir portrait, which is very
yes.
There you go. That's the best way to put it.
It's very sensual, very beautiful.
Yes, but with angel wings.
With angel wings.
Oh, but I found myself doing that, and for the actual military units that I was in, usually commanders or my leadership would ask me to do flyers and more formal portraiture that kind of included icons they had, whether it was like a mascot that they had or some type of icon or logo. And so I found myself doing stuff like that. And so that transferred pretty handily over to working for who I work for now and probably in the future as well. Which right now I work for a company that we do production art and graphic design for Albertsons.
Awesome.
So yeah,
small business. Actually, Albertsons isn't a small business. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. Just breeze over that.
Well, you're down in Texas, right?
Yeah. I've got HEB. Fucking love HEB.
You're the headquarters of my company is actually down in Texas.
Ooh, what part of Texas?
I don't know.
Oh. I was like, maybe
Texas is a big state.
Well, I don't know
if you guys
it
know
might be
this.
Lubbock.
It's Lubbock.
Texas.
Yeah.
Lubbock.
I'm actually going there in January for a wedding.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Weird place for headquarters. It's very small.
I could be entirely wrong. Like I could be 100%
the information that I
wrong.
Just like it's Lubbock. Wait, no, it's Corpus Christi. Ah, shit.
Dallas, I like this game. Amarillo.
Let's see how many Texas towns we can name. Go.
Whoa.
Yeah.
The only other one I know is Texarkana.
Yeah.
And that's
What?
the only reason I know that one is because that's where I was born.
Well, you are in the Mullet City.
Yeah.
That's what I call it.
Sorry.
Mullet
it's
Central,
just
I like it.
it's the town that can't
Swanky.
decide where it is. It's the haircut that can't decide what it is. Mullet Town.
Mullet Town. I dig it.
Yeah. Will and I were driving. We were either driving to Dallas or from Dallas, and we kept seeing signs. It had been going towards Dallas of like Texarkana, and I kept saying like, I don't know how to say this and not have a stroke. And yeah. Anyways, that's my story. Not interesting. I'm gonna stop talking now.
It's my hometown you're talking about.
Now the rest of the episode, you must use this voice.
Yep.
So
If
there
you're
I
not gonna
was
use
in the military, working for the U.S. of Army.
And then we just lost our Texas audience. So sorry.
Yeah, pretty much. Right? I love
Bye.
Texas.
It was good knowing you. We
Texas.
appreciate you, even though half of us were born in Texas, so therefore it should be okay.
I was born
What?
in Texas, and I would go back to Texas any day. That place is
Really?
born
Like
in
to
Texas.
live forever?
What's that?
You would go back to Texas to like live
Yeah.
in Texas?
Oh, absolutely.
Ah.
Forever? She had that on the end. Forever.
Oh,
No,
forever?
shut up.
I don't
Forever,
think
ever?
I don't know if forever ever. I don't know if I'd live anywhere forever. I mean, you live someplace for a while, and then you want to, go see some other things. But that's where, tourism comes in. So you just go visit places. Like we've been visiting.
Or you could read more books. Come on now.
Oh, yeah.
Or travel. Travel's more fun.
Travel is fun.
That's what,
we go up
you guys are of the Traveler Bug Club. Yeah, I do get that.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah, you're not a travel person. Every time I tell you
I'm
about...
kind of a homebody.
Yeah, I'll tell you where I'm going, and you're like, why? Why
I
would you go to
enjoy
Ireland?
Every single photo that you send me.
Yeah.
Let's just throw that out there. Because I live vicariously through other people's lives. It's great.
Did you go to Ireland?
No, that trip had to get canceled. Yeah, I had a choice of either see the Black Keys in San Diego or go to Ireland, and I have missed the Black Keys like 3 times by like 2 days, and I thought, not this fucking time, and dropped a pretty penny on some tickets, so we'll see them next month. Yeah, and then Ireland will happen eventually, probably not next year, because Japan and 3 weddings are happening next year.
Is that a movie?
What?
Is that a movie?
Japan and 3 weddings? Yeah.
3 weddings in a Japan?
Yeah, 3 weddings in a Japan. 3 weddings in a JPCon 2020.
Starring Hugh Grant.
I think like my favorite Hugh Grant quote is like a...
Is this Japan? Oh, is this Japan?
Spot on impression.
I do feel like we could have a whole episode just of Andrew impressions. I feel like we legitimately could fill a 45-minute time slot with this man's vocal cords.
Oh man,
Chris, you dig it?
I dig it. I dig it. You've got a good radio voice.
Oh yeah.
Which makes it sound like you're ugly. He's not. He's.
Sorry.
He's got a great personality and an amazing radio voice.
Bitches. No.
Face for radio.
No. He's a good-looking chap, but a married one. I think we should make that clear as well.
Married chap. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're in the next room watching the foosball game.
Ah, the sports.
Yep. More sportses.
Sportses. So, you are doing graphic-ish design for your okay. And then I see like you post stuff on Instagram. Like you're doing a lot of portraits. So that's that's a thing. You should talk about that a little bit. Make you talk about that.
Most of the stuff I find time to do nowadays. It's been kind of all over the place. Mainly whatever's going on at the time, or I'll walk into the office and I'll just get this hankering to work on something or to use a tool. Like I'll see chalk or charcoal or pastels, and I'll be like, oh man, that'd be awesome. Or I'll just have a thought pop in my head, and I'll start putting something down, and usually it'll turn into 2 or 3 pieces of the same type that will get exponentially better to the point where I do one piece that I'm like, all right, this finishes off this segment of my stuff, and now I'll take a break, and I'll probably come back and do something entirely different. And I've flip-flopped from using charcoal to I've got a couple of oil paintings that I'm working on, and just all kinds of different material. Like that's why, Kay, when you talk to me about materials and stuff like that, I'm like, yes, give me all the materials.
For those that don't know, I'm in the process of moving, and I'm paring down all of my art materials, and I have a ton of charcoal stuff that is just like lying in waste, and I feel bad because it could be used by people who are actually enjoying the medium, and Andrew is one of those. So
I do enjoy it. It's very fun.
It sounds like right now you're more inspired by the materials rather than like the subject. The subject comes afterwards.
Absolutely. It's the subject is kind of second to the materials right now. I'm enjoying just the kind of visceral feeling of the materials that I'm using, and just kind of feeling it out. I don't really have like a niche that I'm that I'm fitting into right now. I've never been able to say that right.
Nobody has. You're in good company.
Yeah, I think people just say shit and then hope no one corrects them. And so far, that's that word that no one is correcting anyone on, because in their head it's like, oh, it's pronounced niche, not niche.
I'm just gonna keep on talking.
Yeah.
Hope nobody noticed that. So yeah, I'm kind of hoping to fall into one that I feel like I can just keep going with, and I see a lot of people get into it that way, where they're either doing stuff nowadays it's for Instagram, or they're doing something specifically for a project, and they find that they're really, really good at that one thing, and that it's effective at grabbing people's attention. And I'm not sure I've found that yet. I'm still searching it out and seeing what fits.
Do you have like a specific, is there a place in your mind in your career that you want to see you get to, or are you just enjoying the process and the ride?
Oh, there's so many things that I would like to get to. I know I'm, getting up there in age, but there's still things that I, wish to get into and strive to get into, and look for opportunities whenever possible. I still would love to illustrate kids books and do stuff of that nature. Heck, I still dream about working for Disney in that sweatshop.
The Disney sweatshop. That's what the Disney Vault is. It's just illustrators being locked up and working on new concept art for live action movies.
Mm-hmm. And I honestly, I would absolutely love to do something of that nature. I still think about doing concept art for video games. I try and do pieces that aren't necessarily fan art, because if you're just doing fan art, then you're just kind of putting down somebody else's work.
Oh my God,
just in your.
I have so many thoughts about this, and I got in like a huge argument at a con like a month ago. Because I just got mad because I'm in. Maybe we should have an episode about this, Kay.
I was about to say, this sounds like an episode about fan art that needs to happen. So we will put that on the list.
But yeah, I understand your pain of like, I want to homage this and not steal someone else's work or idea or, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's I did a piece for a buddy of mine, because we play the video game Destiny, and we team up all the time, and I did a picture of his character and my character, and I was using like screenshots for reference and stuff like that, and I was just sitting there the entire time like, man, I feel like I'm just like painting in between the lines here. Some guy, some illustrator just like me, like came up with some amazing artwork, and I'm just schlubbing it off of him like, hey man, you don't mind if I just take this for my own personal gratification, do you? Because I feel like I would do it so much better than you. Or maybe it's just I don't let me clarify something. I don't want to talk down about people that do fan art. It's not for me, but people do some amazing artwork just by being fans and loving the stuff that they do work for, and it's cool. I just I want to create something and see it like played in, I don't know about a AAA game, but something like that, and I just want to look at it and be like, heck yeah, I did that shit.
Yeah, I think that's like the dream for almost every illustrator right now going into it, is some sort of game development or movie development. And I think for me, because like I'm so egotistical that doing that, and I remember our professor being like, oh yeah, 90% of what you make as a concept artist won't see the light of day. I'm like, oh, I don't like that.
You're like, no, I can't post that.
No, yeah. and just be like, what form of art always gets seen? Editorial. Okay, that one.
I'm gonna do that one. I'm settle. That'll be great.
I'm gonna let you
I want
finish,
to-
but editorial is like the best. Yeah, kidding. I'm stopping.
Oh, man, yeah, that's another one that that's another one that I have kind of toyed with, because they're having like plenty of things that I've done in the past that pointed to an editorial like passion and telling a story, but satirically or maybe poignantly, and there's so many different avenues, and it's difficult to just pick one and say I'm going to focus on that. So I just usually say I'm going to focus on that one for about 20 days, and then I'm going to move on to something else.
I love how you're still open to exploring, and that just goes to show you could do this for your whole life and you're still going to learn something new, and I like that. And you old geezer, you better get on it.
Jesus. They just say like it's your political cartoon phase or your, yeah. I mean, that's why like Picasso has his blue period. And,
I'll call it my crusty old man phase.
The crusty period. Oh,
It's crusty.
that
What's
feels
up with
so
these crazy
bad.
remotes? That's a phone, Dad. Oh, fine.
Oh.
Well, Andrew,
Yeah.
it has been really nice having you on the show, and I think people can tell from listening to us, we actually shut up while you talked, which is like the highest sign I think that we could give you, that, we deeply respect you and we really appreciate you coming and talking with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. And Andrew, where can people find you?
I'm around. No.
On Capitol in Boise.
Usually is.
There's a
Usually
segment
at
of
the bar or something. Let's see. I do have an Andrew Watkins illustration Instagram page. I also have a watkinsillustration.com portfolio for people to visit. I have a Facebook that I've been meaning to do something with, but I haven't really kicked that one off yet. I'm not a huge fan of Facebook, so it's difficult for me to get on there to do anything. But I do have a couple of videos too that I've been pitching that are on YouTube, and I can't remember what the username is. I think it's just under Andrew Watkins Illustration.
Well, send me that puppy and we'll get it added to the show notes so people can
track
you down.
Yeah, in a
Will do.
non-creepy way. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for listening, guys. Yeah, I don't have anything else to add. Do you?
Well, aren't we going to do our thing that you started last week? What's our shtick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is giving you inspiration right now?
We'll start with Andrew.
Yeah, we'll start with Andrew.
Oh, you're talking to me?
Yes.
This is what we do right before we sign off. Sorry, it's a new thing. We're just getting used to it ourselves.
Yep, it'll be smooth eventually.
Well, it is October, so Inktober's going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's the main inspiration drive right now. I'm trying to do a cohesive Inktober this year of taking these prompts that they have and then actually having a theme throughout, just to kind of further challenge myself to further focus in on what I want to do instead of just what willy-nilly thing I can think of based on the word. So, for my friends that know me and people that follow me, I do a lot of mountain biking, and so I decided to do a mountain bike theme to all my drawings, and so that's what my motivation is right now.
They're looking real good.
Yeah, they look great.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Chris?
Ooh, I feel like life's beating me down. What is giving me life right now? Motivation to be happy. And right now that is figuring out where I want to take my career. So it's a lot of actually applying for schools and looking at master's programs and looking at second bachelor programs and testing out things here and there. It's like, is this something that I feel like I could enjoy and worth spending another 5 years of my education on? stuff like that.
It's a commitment.
Yeah.
It's a commitment.
Yeah, I'm kind of at a crossroads right now, and right now what's giving me life is trying to find out which fork to take. And
I love that.
Oh, good. I'm glad someone does, because I'm a little stressed out. Like, it's motivating,
I'm over
but it's also terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's difficult to let go of that safety and kind of plunge into something kind of unknown.
That is the thing. Yeah. It's being in one spot for closer to a decade than not a decade. And also going into a field that I'm looking into medical illustration and going to, which is hefty. So it's me having to go. Sorry.
That's a whole degree right there. No.
Yeah, it is a whole degree. It's going to be looking at the programs. It's like, I got to go back for like a bachelor's in biology or get an associate's in biology and figuring out what's financially good but still going to get me into the school that I need, because they're competitive. And also, the fear of like, I really hope I fucking like this. Michael, what is giving you life right now?
I'm going to be real cheesy and say my marriage.
Ugh. No, I'm kidding. That's very sweet. That's very sweet.
You make that's nice. But I will say that it was a little bit rocky there. And if we record our next episode soon, I'll probably end up talking about it. But I had a very hard conversation with my grandfather-in-law. And so it was kind of a struggle. And we had to talk an awful lot after it, and I feel like we're in this really awesome place, and it's nice to sit there for a while and be like, until we move, there's this really nice peace and this aura, and I'm digging it, and I'm just drawing more, I'm doing more housework. Like it's everything, it's everywhere. I like it. It's really nice. So that's what's given Michael K life, isn't it?
Great.
It's nice.
All right. I still have to be better about a good sign-off other than that. But thank you guys for listening. And thank you so much to our lovely guest, Andrew.
Thanks again.
Woo.
Goodbye.
Would like to take a moment to thank our audio tech William Higginson for mastering this episode. A huge thank you to Joseph McDade for our podcast track, Drifting Corners. And thank you for having listened to another rousing podcast from Kris and Michael K. We were thankful to have you for another week, and if you hit that subscribe button, we'll catch you in another 2. If you have thoughts to share, you can email us at prismacasters@gmail.com. To follow our visual show notes, search out Prismacasters on Instagram. And to get general updates, view content, and otherwise just get our cosmic lowdown, visit our website at www.prismacast.com. Don't forget to both rate and review our burgeoning show wherever you found our podcast so others can find us. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.